All right, welcome back to Turnbull Garage. So it's been quite a while since I've had a video put out. It's been holiday season, as you know, is very busy. I've got a new job, which is really taking up a lot of my time. More on that in another video. But today we're going to get into something quite a bit different. I've got a V8 engine that I'm going to be assembling. Not your regular V8 engine. This V8 engine will fit in the palm of your hand. It's an engine that I put together, machined myself using only manual machine tools. Probably about at least 25 years ago, I did this engine, and it's been sitting around in a drawer for the longest time, and I finally said, you know what, let's put this engine together, put it on video. I don't know, I won't be able to get it fired up in this video. There's still some things I'll need to get, which I'll explain in the video. But yeah, it should be a lot of fun. It's gonna be really hard to capture this on camera, I suspect, because the pieces are so small and I need glasses. I don't even know if my glasses are gonna work for this. But anyway, let's just get right to it, see if I can get this on camera and put this really cool engine together. Okay, I still have the plans. They were in the filing cabinet of this engine. You can see all the different parts. It's actually a very good drawing. I actually got it, I ordered it, it came out of England. Let me see if I can find where the most difficult part was to make. Here's the other sheet. There's actually two sheets, but the rocker arms were the most challenging part to make. There's a tremendous amount of geometry in there, and the size of them is, you'll see in a minute how small they are. Okay, so I have painstakingly put all these pieces out on the table to make sure I have everything. I am missing one little bolt, but you can see here you've got the crankshaft, camshaft, the what do you call them? Basically the ends of the motor, timing gear case, head bolts there. You got some carburetors, crankcase. You got push rods. There's rocker perches. There's the rocker arms. Now, I'll give you an idea. You know, Canada doesn't have any pennies anymore, but I'll use an American penny. So there's a penny. So you can see how big those rocker arms, they are smaller than a penny. Looking at the head here, there's a poppet valve. I only wanted to take one out of the head because there you can see the tiny wee little keeper there that holds the valve in place. It's so small. Moving up to the pistons, again, I'll bring a penny over here. Looking at the piston, there's two little Teflon buttons. Get my tweezers here. Teflon buttons that go into the back of the wrist pin. It's basically a floating wrist pin. Oh, it's stuck on there. Get off. There we go. It's a floating wrist pin. And there are a couple of little bronze shells. It's cross drilled so that oil will go through and lubricate the crank. But yeah, so there's all the pistons. So yes, you're probably impressed with that. It is very small. It took a tremendous amount of hours. These are the bolts I was telling you about. These little bolts right here. See if I can get them to focus. Those are a 0.80 thread, so 80 threads per inch, 60 thousandths of an inch. Gotta get this to focus. Yeah, it's too small. But there is also a washer-faced hex there, so that's all machined by hand. So anyway, I'm gonna slowly put this engine together now. All right, taking a close look at these rocker arms, you can see there's a bronze bushing that's been pressed in. You can see the threaded hole. That's where the lash adjuster will be. But yeah, that was a lot of work making that rocker 16 times. For the rocker arm perch, you can see it's sliced in the middle there. So when you tighten up the bolt, it closes in on the shaft, holds the shaft in place with the rocker shaft. So let's put this all together and we'll do a time lapse. All right, there you see the rockers are assembled. Next thing I'll do is go ahead and put the little adjusters in here with the jam nuts. All right, there's the adjusters on, and you can see, yeah, you can see there's actually a slot for a screwdriver to hold it, and then you put a little wrench on there. And on the bottom, let's see if I can get it on here, adjusters, yeah, you can see that those are a little concave. Basically, the end of the push rod has got a ball, and that's actually a socket to hold it in place. So there you go. We'll do that on all 16 rockers. All right, so I cleaned up the bottom of the heads, so the sealing surface should be good. There's 4 little O-rings here that need to go in there because the intake port actually opens, the head bolt goes through it. So these seal it so you don't get any leaks. So we'll just throw these in. So you can see there's a bronze valve guide in there. So yeah, there is a valve guide, and you can see, yeah, there's the exhaust ports. No, there's the exhaust ports. Sorry, those where the spark plug or the glow plugs go, and that is the intake, which is cross drilled over to each side, each port there for the valves that open and close. Push this valve through the valve guide there, then the spring, and then this little retainer goes on. Then I have to compress the spring, which is, of course, very easy to do, and carefully take this little circlip, or, oh gee, that's what I'm worried about, little C-clip here. Yeah, these pieces are so small. My eyes used to be better when I made this so many years ago, but my eyes aren't as good as they used to be. There we go. I should be able to push that through, and there we go. That just retains it, so there you go. So now we'll go ahead and put the rocker arm assemblies on. Okay, so there's the heads more or less assembled. Stick them off to the side for now. And the next thing to do is probably get the upper engine block ready for the crankshaft and pistons. The crankshaft anyway, and camshaft. So to do that, you have to put these, let's get close up. And you can see what is a cam follower goes inside there, and on the other side of it you can see the little socket where the push rod will go. So we'll drop all 16 valve lifters, I guess you'd say, inside there. You got to put it in one way and then rotate it 90 degrees once you get, there we go, and rotate it. There we go. There we go, that's one. Show you what it looks like. There you can see how they're inside there and looking down the cam. If I push that first one in, you'll see it there. So when the cam is in there, it'll be riding like that, and then when the cam lobe goes up, it'll push it out. So I'll get these all in now. What the cam looks like, all the different lobes. Machining that, you may think, was actually really difficult. Well, it was, but it actually wasn't as difficult as you would think. Also on the end of the gear, you'll see right there is a mark. That's your timing mark. But yeah, I also made the gear as well. But let's go ahead and throw this back in. There you can see the 2 timing marks lined up. Yeah, right there you can see it. All right, there's our timing cover put together. That's a little breather. I got to put a breather thing on there. But now when I spin the crank, if you look down, I can see inside. You can see the camshaft is spinning inside. So there you go. Next thing to do is go ahead and throw this end on. Take my cover. And I already made sure it fit. It does, so that's good. Yep, there we go. That spins totally free. All right, so the next thing to do is start assembling our pistons onto here, which is also going to be very time consuming. Okay, let's try to get some of these cylinders put on. So these basically you have to slide over. They have a tapered bottom, and what'll happen is they compress the piston ring as they slide on. So let's just slide these on. Should, yep, just slide in there. There's a flat, you can see that on the cylinder because they're close together. So we'll just go ahead and throw these all in. These cylinders also have a very small, thin paper gasket on the bottom to help seal the crankcase. There we go, that's the cylinders installed. So the next thing to do is right here, these little spacers go on right here. And they basically keep the cylinders all square, it doesn't allow them to move around. Then I actually have a small rubber seal here. I'm not really sure what these were for, but they don't actually seal. And to be honest, I'm not really too sure I need them. In fact, oh, I see what they do. The head will seal on here, and this just keeps this plate down. So we'll go ahead and throw all these. I'm going to do just one side because I have to put the head on. Now we're ready for a head. But before we put the head on, I need to do head gaskets. So the head gaskets, this little ring that you see, that is actually laminated aluminum, 2/1000 of an inch layers. So you could take a razor blade and you can peel off a 2/1000 of an inch, little ring. So the way I did this before was 2,000 was too small. I would peel off two of them together, so it'd be 4,000s. So use a razor blade. My eyes are not good enough to do this, so I am going to have to get some magnifying glasses to do this. So let's go ahead and peel these gaskets off this shim thing here. All right, I managed to peel off 8 little gaskets. I had to use my micrometer to measure them, and where is it here? All right, so I still have quite a bit of this material left. Again, they're 2/1000 of an inch thickness. I peeled those all off with a razor blade, used my micrometer. That's all the scrap bits I had left because you kind of mess it up and you pull little tooth-thou shims off. But anyway, we are ready to install the head gaskets. All right, so with these little rubber pieces on, we should have just enough. The rubber kind of sits proud, so these little aluminum gaskets, if you will, can sit just inside there, and they're the exact same size as the head, the top of each head. So we lay these in there, and then carefully position the head on, get these centered, and get the bolts on, the head bolts on. So I'll try to get these centered on here. There, that one just fell into place. That one just fell in. And I think that one fell in. So now the head will go on. The head bolt here. Get one started. Oh, I can see a problem I got right now. I'm gonna have to take the rockers off because I can't get to these head bolts. They're behind the rocker shaft nuts. So let's take these rockers off real quick. All right, got my head bolt on there. Let's see if we can just slowly drop this on. Just position that carefully. Get that bolt started. Okay, that is just lightly on there. Probably good enough just to leave it like that. Then I'll do the other head and then get the other head gaskets on, whatnot, and then we'll get the other head. I'll get these all bolted on.
right, so there you go. All the head bolts are in, torqued down, if there is such a thing as a torque for something that small. Next thing I do is actually going to close up the crankcase. Now my video screwed up earlier, and I didn't get, you can see it spinning around. Let me get this thing on here. So on the crankshaft end, this is tapered. So that's going to go on there like that. I have a propeller hose on, but for now, I'm just going to go ahead and put this on so that I can turn the engine over easier. All right, with that on, I can turn that over now. You can see all the parts moving. Next thing I do here is put the oil pan or crankcase cover on here. So this is the crankcase cover, all machined out of one piece. And that's just gonna slide on there like that. I'll put all the bolts in. That's all these little bolts right here. I'll put those in there along with some Halmar around the mating surfaces. All right, there you go. All the bolts are in. Engine is more or less assembled. So the next thing I'll do is the rocker arms and the push rods. All right, so you already saw how the rockers go on, but now that they're on, we are ready for the push rods, which is right here. There's a push rod. Now, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to focus in to show you how the end of it is dome shaped to fit into the socket on both the lifter and the rocker. So let's go ahead and pop these all in. I forgot, before we put the push rods in, I need to put my intake manifold on. So there's a couple of paper gaskets on here. Which way does that go? This way. Because the push rods go on either side of this. So we gotta get those on here, or this on here like that. These are, I do believe, 172 are these screws. Anyway, you get the idea. I'll go ahead and put this on. All right, so there's the intake manifold all on. And next thing to do, yeah, let's go ahead and throw those push rods in. All right, so that's all the push rods on. It's actually a lot harder than I remembered it being. But anyway, the next thing I got to do is go ahead and adjust my valve lash. So just like any engine, just loosen the nut, adjust the lash with your little adjuster there, and then use the jam nut to hold it in place. So that's what I'll do now, is go ahead and adjust my valve lash. Thing is, with this little engine, all I got to do is just turn the crank here, and oops, and you can turn the engine over so easy. So let's get the valve lash adjusted real quick. Okay, valve lash is set. Next thing I gotta do is put on the little exhaust ports, the little exhaust pipes that go right onto there. I got also some little 080 screw or bolts in there. You can see them in there. I'm gonna go ahead and throw all those on. All right, there's all the exhaust. Oh, I can see that one is not right. That one's not in the right place. I get that one 180 out. But anyway, yeah, you can see all the exhaust ports are on. That one's out too. They gotta have that little cut out of them for the head bolt wrench. See that? And this side, I've got it screwed up. So I gotta spin those around. The next thing I gotta do is go ahead and throw these glow plugs in the head here. So this is actually a model airplane glow fuel, and it uses a glow plug. So I got some little annealed copper rings. They'll go between the plug and the head. So we'll go ahead and throw those in. All right, so I've got all the glow plugs tightened up. The engine is basically all put together. The next thing to do is go ahead and mount it in this stand. I'll show you this stand once I get it mounted on here. What's involved in that. There's a lot to this stand actually, but for now, these out of the way. Let's get this mounted. A couple small bolts here to mount the corners of the engine here onto this stand. Get these wires out of the way. There we go. Okay, motor is mounted. I got the glow plugs all hooked up. I've just got to get a tie wrap to tie wrap this wire coming up here onto the stand. But now I'm going to go into how this works and why I won't be able to start it. Basically, in here, I had 4 rechargeable cells in here. And I had this little metal contact that went down through that hole and connected, turn this over, came out the bottom and connected over to here. And then on this side, I have these black wires go to the glow plug. So what happens when you push this red button, it would basically make contact right here and complete the circuit and make the glow plugs go. But I've got to try, and this was also for a charging port to charge up the batteries. So I've got to try and find some rechargeable cells to go in there that'll fit. Shouldn't be too hard. And this is the fuel tank. I actually seem to have misplaced the cap for the fuel tank. I don't know how the hell that happened, but that's the fuel tank that actually threads on top of here and ends up lining up like that. So I'll put this back together with the wire in it just for now to keep it together. And then last thing to do is go ahead and throw the propeller on. Actually, there is one more thing I got to do, and that's install this plate. This plate here goes onto there, and you can see I machined a couple of pockets out so these screws so they wouldn't touch. But this basically will fit on there like that. Some flathead screws, and it's all concealed nice and clean. One thing I forgot to do was hook up the linkage to my carburetors. So you'll see wide open throttle, and it's basically like an RC carburetor, closed. So basically wide open, closed, and also needle valves. They're just a little needle valve for adjusting your fuel mixture. So yeah, there you go. Throttle is hooked up. Let's put the prop on. All right, the propeller. So you can see I got a bunch of holes on here, a bunch of holes here on the prop. Basically, all you got to do, I got these nice little bolts. Slide it through this flange here, through the prop, and start threading it into the, I don't know, the mounting plate, I guess you'd call it. I don't know what you call it. I didn't have a drawing for this. I just designed it myself and bought a propeller from a local hobby store, and yeah, put it together. Now, last thing is to tighten up this nut on the front that holds it all together. Okay, with that all together, I can go ahead now and just turn the engine over. You can see the valves all going. I can feel a little bit of compression, but to be honest, there's not a lot. Yeah, definitely super cool. Got to get some batteries to get this thing to run. All right, so that's pretty much going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. That little V8 engine, probably one of the smallest V8 engines in the world, if not the smallest. 0.98 cubic inches that engine is, which is, under 1 cubic inch for a V8 engine is pretty crazy. That engine was designed by a gentleman named Eric Whittle, and if you Google his or YouTube his name, you'll see there's 2 or 3 videos of his little engines running. That little V8 in particular that he designed, there's a video of him running it before he died. But anyway, if you want to see one running, there is some on YouTube.
But yeah, so anyway, that's first video I've had out for quite some time. I do have another video coming up pretty quick. My son's gonna come over this truck. We're gonna do some more maintenance on him, teach him some more stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna do it. So thoughts and comments down below. And if you haven't subscribed already, think about doing so. And for those that have, hey, thanks a lot. I really appreciate you. So yeah, thanks a lot and have yourself a great day.